Hello, and welcome back to the Full 40 with Willy and Trevor. Trevor, buddy, how we doing?
We are better than Villanova men's basketball.
That is true. Also better than Villanova women's basketball. But you know what? At least they made the semifinals. We'll take that.
They had UConn. I don't want to say on the ropes, but I don't know what happened between Nova and Paige Buchers, but she really hates playing Villanova, or loves, I guess, playing Villanova.
She sees that blue and her eyes go red.
Yeah.
It was a good first half, and then we were down 10 at the end of the first half, and I was like, I don't know that we're gonna come back by 10 points.
Yeah.
I was like, and we didn't. But they'll be in the WNIT more than likely.
Is there a W crown?
I don't know if there's a W crown. That's actually
what did they do last year? A couple years ago, it was like CBIT or something like that.
So it was the WNIT, but then there was also the Women's Invitational Tournament, which was separate than the NIT.
Yeah.
And I think we went to the Women's Invitational Tournament.
Yeah.
We didn't go to whatever the NIT was. Whatever it was, we will be playing at not the big dance. We will not be dancing come next Sunday, which is Selection Sunday, which, like, I haven't had a fun selection. Well, no, Selection Sunday is always fun. But, like, one where it's like, oh, Villanova's going to get picked. Where are we going to be?
So going back to my time in college, at least, and then obviously immediately after, but there used to be a Selection Sunday show that the program would put on, and it would be open to the public, and then anybody from the program passed, and I used to have to work at it a lot. And Jay Wright would get up there every year and say, like, hey guys, like this in and of itself is special. Like, only a certain number of teams get to play in this every year, and just being here is special. And we're like, yeah. When are you going to go to the Final Four? It was two of the four of those. My college was leading up to national championships. So I definitely was spoiled. But now looking back, you're like, I hate that he was right.
Drilled it.
Because just absolutely nailed it. It is special, and it's pretty lame to be sitting here this time of year and have absolutely no buzz for my favorite team, at least.
Yeah, it's always going to be exciting because it's March Madness, but the buzz of, like, also, like, the thing I enjoyed the most was, okay, we get placed in the bracket. It's like, oh shit, am I going to go to Pittsburgh? Am I going to go to Buffalo? Like, am I making this trip? Like, that kind of conversation was always just so fun. And then I always waited until I only went to one. I went to the Final Four. And of course, the Final Four I went to was 2022, where I was like, New Orleans, and I have disposable income, and a lot of it, or more than I did when I was 1 year out of school. And so I went to that one, which love New Orleans. Didn't love the result, but still had a fantastic time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this week, and until it happens, we will be talking about potentially replacing our head coach and what that means for the program and for the school and for the players expected to return and how that impacts the portal and this and that. And all we have to look forward to on that is, okay, are we going to have somebody by the time the Crown tournament comes around at the end of March, or are we slapping an interim tag? And what does the team look like at the end of the month?
Yeah.
Just given that decisions will probably start to be made pretty quickly after the Big East tournament. All of this, of course, is barring the Patrick Ewing type run of making it out of the what is it, 2021 that they did that?
Was it 21? I can't remember what year it was.
I think it was 21.
That was pre-pandemic. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was the year Colin Gillespie tore his knee.
So then it was 2021, yes, because it was Colin tore. We lost. Yep.
Yeah.
And then they went and they played in Indiana versus they had played like I forgot who they played. I think it was like Utah or BYU.
Yeah. So barring that Cinderella run, I don't think we will be waiting around to hear our name called on Sunday
No.
for anything other than the crown, which that bracket is like starting to look like the ghosts of Villanova seasons past with I think Kansas State and Cincinnati and Nebraska as the other potential 1 seeds for that. So some rematches with some teams that we were proud of for beating earlier in the year.
Yep.
Cincinnati, and then some familiar faces in Brennan Hausen and I can probably look and find other connections to the other teams that underperformed and ended up here. But what we're looking at.
And it was Colorado. But yeah, and I think what's as we deal with whatever fallout comes from the coaching process, the coaching hiring process, as some of you saw on Twitter, our very own Chris Bellotti has been foaming at the mouth to talk about this. So we've handed him the Twitter, which he's always had access to in the first place. He asked permission. I was like, I don't just tweet. I don't care. But he will be doing more spaces. There should be one after this episode tonight. We'll see if he wants to do it. If not, tomorrow. And that's where Chris will have a space for everybody to talk about the process, what we're hearing. Obviously, right now it's all just conjecture. But as things become more solidified, we'll have spaces, and obviously we'll be on the podcast talking about it. I'm going to make an assumption. I have not spoken to Chris. I assume he'll be on an episode 2 to talk about whatever happens, whenever this happens. So stay tuned for that, because as we all navigate this thing that has not happened in a generation, which how long is a generation? Because we've never had a coaching search since Jay. And honestly, I don't even know if Jay's was a true coaching search, but I was 7 years old, or 6 years old. Basically been a generation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's like 20 years.
Yeah, so it's been a generation since we've done this, which is insane. So we're going to be navigating just uncertain territory for pretty much not just fans, but everybody in the program has never had to do with this. Like anybody who's a booster probably had a little bit less. Had less money at the time. Like they may have not been as big. So it'll be interesting, like what this looks like. But to get into the rest of the episode, we do have the Big East tournament, and to talk all things Big East, we have none other than Tommy Gudden coming onto the podcast. There he is. Tommy, how we doing, baby?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me on.
No problem. It's an absolute pleasure having you on here. Before we get into it, are any of you guys going to the Big East tournament?
It's hard to justify. I would only really go to watch Villanova, and it's hard to justify going in the middle of the week and running up. And yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, in a similar breath, I'm only credentialed Wednesday and Thursday. A teammate of mine in college is getting married, and on that Saturday, the rehearsal dinner, everything's Friday. He's the type of guy that John Rothstein makes tweets about, so it's I don't poor planning on his part. I told him that when I got the invitation, but it'll be a good weekend nonetheless.
I have a wedding that I'm in 2 weeks. And at first he's like, end of March. I was like, yeah, whatever, cool, I'll be there. Like I'm in the wedding, I wasn't gonna not be there. And now I'm like, ooh, okay, we're missing. It's gonna be Sweet 16 and Elite 8, so it's not like the full slate of games, so it's a little bit better. But we will be Saturday night. I will be like, yeah, no, I'm at the altar. Yeah, whatever.
That was friend of mine's fear that when they had a late March wedding, and then it became very clear that there would be no Villanova team to watch. So that kind of solved that problem by itself. So yeah, I don't think you'll be missing Villanova too much, Tommy, on Friday. Hopefully all you're missing is the immediate reaction to the announcement that we have mutually parted ways with our head coach and started a process after placing somebody in an interim position, but who knows? aside from all that, we had a lot of Big East news come out. And for those of you who don't follow Tommy, he is the one-stop source for all of your immediate Big East breaking news. He's the only Twitter account that I trust personally when I see news coming out. Willie might think differently, but Willie's wrong. And I had to get that shot in there. But what should we start with? We had all Big East teams announced. We had a couple major awards announced. We have obviously the bracket for the
Let's
tournament.
start with the bracket. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk through the bracket. So just to run through it, and correct me if I'm wrong. So just overall, Villanova is the 6th seed. So we are, chilling in the 6th
30
seed.
in a row.
Yep.
9 p.m.
9 p.m., which is like, past people's bedtimes. So St. John's is the 1. Creighton is the 2. UConn is at 3. Xavier gets the 4, which I don't think anyone was really predicting even a month ago. But Xavier comes in at 4. Marquette 5, because they've kind of been in a little bit of a tailspin. Villanova at 6. And then it's Georgetown, Providence, Butler, DePaul. And bringing up the rear is Seton Hall, which bad times at Seton Hall. And so in terms of matchups, the opening game is Providence versus Butler at 4. Georgetown versus DePaul is the next one at 6:30. And then us versus Seton Hall. This is Wednesday, March 13th. We'll start with those set of games. Anything sticking out to you there, Tommy? Anything to talk about about the shitty Wednesday slate?
Yeah, what a slate. First things first, all of these games are going to be on Peacock as well. So you got to dust off that password or pay for another subscription if you don't have that already, which is fantastic. Butler and Providence kick it off, but this is the 3rd year in a row Butler's kicking off the Big East tournament. And as against Providence Friars, Providence's only win since February 1st has been against Villanova. They look like a team that's kind of given up, the team that's defeated. Their coach is yelling at fans. Fans are yelling at the coach. It's getting ugly on Twitter.
It's not a good situation for them. And I don't remember a quicker fall from grace from, I don't know, even 8 weeks ago to now. At least we knew all season that we wanted ours gone. They just woke up one day and was like, nope, this isn't the guy.
Yeah. It got ugly, and it got ugly quick. Butler's not exactly a powerhouse either, but they're going to present a lot of issues for this Providence team. They can spread the floor. They can shoot a little bit. Butler will likely move on in that one if I had to pick. DePaul and Georgetown, that's another pillow fight that we got going there. DePaul swept Georgetown this year in the regular season. It's their first sweep in God knows how long. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and Ed Cooley was embarrassed by the way that they played the last time. Yep. He said that if he were the athletic director, he would fire him, which obviously would never happen, not this early. But I like Georgetown in this one, even without Thomas Sorber. They're just a better team. And Villanova, Seton Hall. I'll let you guys take the reins on this one.
It's like 2 guys throwing bricks at each other from in the backyard. Which very well could be what the game looks like. A rematch of this, just hard. These are 2 of the worst basketball games I've watched this season, were Villanova and Seton Hall. So I'm not expecting anything short of an awful game watch experience.
The thing, you guys have been talking about Villanova all year. If you're listening to this podcast, you know all about Villanova basketball. I'll tell you a little bit about Seton Hall. They're a team that I was talking with my Road to the Garden co-host Chris the Dinga earlier today. They're not a team that varies by effort game to game. They're a team that varies by effort minute to minute, like not even half to half. They played Creighton really, really hard, diving on the floor for loose balls, everybody surrounding rebounds for 7 minutes. And they were like, all right, we tried. Creighton had a couple shots and they just kind of threw in the towel. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. I can see Villanova opening this game, smacking them in the mouth a little bit. Seton Hall probably come back, throw a couple bricks, and then it'll tail off at the end for Villanova. Yeah. But it's just it's a bizarre team. They're not even in the top 200 of KenPom, so a loss here would really be quite funny.
Funny is a good word for it.
Yeah. Will Eric Dixon save us with a last second three? We'll see. But this is a game as it's just like we should expect to win, but like, should we? Like, yes, but like we should expect to win. But we've seen how the season goes. It's going to be weird. Last game, as you guys remember, I was talking shit about Dylan Ewusu, and he started.
He's horrible.
He started very hot, and I was like, of course because he plays like he thinks he's Kobe Bryant, and when you're missing shots, that's hilarious to watch. And when you make it, you're like, okay, now he's making the shots, and now he looks like it. But as Tommy said, minute to minute, there's that minute to minute variance. There's not much to say about this game from Seton Hall's perspective, or from Villanova perspective, except like we've seen this story twice, we've beat them twice. It's been ugly both times. I would expect the same. Maybe we'll get the blowout that we always like. We've seen to got the last two opening, not even the last two, because the DePaul one was the DePaul one was bad. But think about the Georgetown one 2 years ago, where we beat the absolute snot out of Georgetown, and I was like, oh, this might be fun. Something good might happen, and it didn't.
No, yeah. I don't have much more to say about this. This one's just going to be tough.
So then we get into the fun part, the quarters, which obviously Thursday. So that's Thursday. This is, I know Selection Sunday and the first day of the tournament is like the biggest one, but like Thursday, March 14th and Friday, March 15th are like two of the best basketball days of the year. All the big major conference tournaments are happening. We're going to be starting off with St. John's versus the Providence versus Butler winner. Obviously, at the Garden, all these games are going to be on FS1. That's a noon tip. And then it is Xavier versus Marquette at 2:30. Creighton versus the Georgetown DePaul winner at 7, which I'm just going to take Creighton by like 40. And then UConn versus Villanova's Seton Hall game. I didn't really think about the fact that it was going to be UConn, and I just don't want to deal with UConn fans. Like, I just don't want to. You guys can hear it.
I don't even think they they feel bad for us at this point. Like
they also have their own houses and kind of disarray right now.
Dan Hurley just casually dropped I think half my roster's in the transfer portal once this season ends. I do think that they are my pick to win the tournament.
UConn?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think Hurley's gonna have them ready and psycho his way to a tournament win. Okay. I don't know why. I just feel it. Yeah.
I like that. They with the 60 Minutes interview, like you mentioned, Dan Hurley said half of his players already know where they're going at their next stop already, which is crazy to hear. I don't know. I think in the middle of the season for UConn, the wheels started to fall off a little bit when they kind of reality set in and they realized that this isn't the team that's going to be able to three-peat. The talent's just not there like it was the last couple of years. But I don't know. They might be starting to pick the pieces up. I don't hate that UConn pick. It feels like the world's against them, and hungry dogs run faster. That's where Dan Hurley thrives.
Yep.
No one believes in UConn. That's what they've been saying for 3 years. So
small fledgling program from Connecticut. Yeah. Like it's just no one cares. No one believes in them.
Yeah.
Right.
What's your favorite matchup of the day of those ones? So just to reiterate, just so you all have it, it is St. John's, Providence, or Butler, Xavier, Marquette, Creighton, Georgetown, DePaul, UConn, us. I think the obvious answer for me, it's the Xavier Marquette game, being the 4-5 game. I think Marquette's tailspin has kind of been an interesting thing as I've watched over the last couple of weeks. And tailspin's a loose term, but they started off the season. They started off 15-3, and they finished 22-9. They've won 3 out of their last 6, but they've beaten.
How are their tranches?
Their tranches. They've only beaten in the last 6 games Seton Hall, Providence, Georgetown. So they lost to us. Not that we're actually bad, but they are not beating the quality teams. So I think the tournament's always a chance to restart. It's a new season. It's a 1-game season each and every single time. I think Shaka could have them ready for that. They're not my pick to win, but that's why I just really like this matchup, and I think seeing them with a Xavier team that
needs one more.
That it's kind of in the inverse of, frankly, if I'm being honest with myself, Xavier's in the position that we probably should have been this season.
Yeah.
Of okay, they're flawed. They're probably a tournament team, but they need one more getting in, and they did the stuff that we didn't. Frankly, them beating us twice probably flips the spots. That's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that. This is my matchup, not only of this round, but of the tournament. I'm really excited for this one, and Trevor gave his pick to win it all. I'll give mine. It's Xavier to win the Big East tournament this year. Since February 1st, they're a top 25 team in the country on Bart Torvik. No other Big East team cracks the top 25. Marquette's all the way down at 6th. And since Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, February 14th, it's an objective date, but it helps my narrative. They're a top 10 team in the country. Xavier is. So they're playing their best basketball at the right time. They had a cupcake schedule coming in, but that's what you need to do. You need to play those games to get back on track. They had a dominant win against Creighton, who's certainly not a cupcake. So they're playing their best basketball right now. They need it the most. I think that combination is going to be paramount for these Musketeers coming in. They're my pick to win the Big East tournament.
Okay.
Going down here a little bit, Creighton by TKO, whoever they play. Yeah. St. John's playing the winner of Providence and Butler is going to be pretty funny to me. This is St. John's best year of basketball since 1985, I think it was. So, I mean, the Garden's going to be rocking for St. John's.
So the interesting thing about that one, I didn't realize how close their games were with Providence. All year. Yeah. I think there was 2-point games both times. Something like that.
So Providence plays them tough.
That'll be interesting. I don't know which version of Providence shows up. The one that embarrassed us, or the one that lost to Paul last week.
So if we're talking about tournament predictions, that's my prediction. That if Providence beats Butler and they get St. John's, that they will beat St. John's in that first game. So once again, I love to make a big splashy prediction, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I think it's going to be. If Providence loses to Butler, I think St. John's is fine. But as we've seen all season, St. John's is defensively fantastic, offensively a nightmare, and I think a bad nightmare. And I think we're going to get a very tight St. John's at home in that first game, wanting to show up for the team or for the fan base and be this. We are here, the Big East tournament. There's not just a statement within the Big East that's been made, but there is a national statement now that they can make during the Big East tournament. And I think they're going to let that get to them. And then we're going to get an all-time quote from Pitino after the fact.
Yeah.
Just an absolute all-time quote from Pitino.
Yeah, I don't think that's a super hot take by you.
I've had worse.
As the resident Pitino doubter on the podcast, nothing would make me happier. So I hope this happens.
I'll be able to tell you in the first 5 minutes of the Butler game if Providence is going to be able to not only win that game, but to upset St. John's.
That's a fair point.
They've won one game since February 1st.
They have us exactly where they want us, is what I say. Providence.
Yeah. They're due.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So moving on to the semis. This is where there's a bunch of obviously options, but essentially it's either St. John's, Butler, Providence versus Xavier, Marquette, and then Creighton, Georgetown, DePaul versus UConn, Villanova, Seton. One of those. Realistically, let's just kind of take it from where we've said thus far. We have UConn versus Creighton. Let's just say St. John's, and then we said Xavier, more or less. Taking those through, what do we feel about those matchups?
I think Villanova is going to play UConn pretty hard. I have UConn advancing here to the semis, and I have them playing against Creighton. I think UConn's really going to punch, or Villanova's going to punch UConn in the mouth. And Creighton's starting five has been outstanding all year. The 1-2 punch with Ashworth and Kalkbrenner has been outstanding. Jason Green, if you guys remember the Villanova games, I think he's played the best defense on Dixon that I've seen out of anybody except for Micah Peavy in that first half. Last game against Eric Dixon. So I think he presents some matchup problems. Jeremiah Neal's playing really well for Creighton. I think they move by UConn in this round and advance to the Big East Tournament Championship. They have experience, they have coaching, they have talent. Believe it or not, they have the best bench depth that they've had in a while, which still isn't great, but it's better than what it was. Up top, I have Xavier and St. John's. The resident Rick Pitino hater in here is going to love this. Xavier's just going to want it more. They have more to lose. They're the hottest team. They've been better than St. John's recently. I like Xavier in this matchup. I got them moving on to the championship and winning it.
Okay.
Can't disagree with him there. So
I have Creighton moving on. I have Creighton's my title winner.
Okay.
And also, let's be clear, I don't believe in Creighton. I hate Creighton. I don't hate them. That's a strong word, but I just think I think they have the bracket works out in their way to get there pretty easily. And then I have them facing Marquette. So I think Marquette's going to beat Xavier, move on. So I have Creighton Marquette as my final, with Creighton being the winner.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else just about the bracket of the tournament before we get into awards and all the different fun stuff?
No. I think we covered it. I just can't believe that Xavier's the 4 seed. If you told
Xavier, I didn't realize that until we sat down tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, what down the stretch, as you said, Tommy, they've just been, and granted, they had a more front-loaded schedule. It was easier down the back half, but this is, shout out to Sean Miller, I guess, doing his thing.
Yeah, I still think they do have some work to do to get. If the season ended today, I'm not sure Xavier's in the field of 68.
So then this brings up, and I just want to touch base on this. We've already seen multiple times that the committee doesn't really take into account conference tournaments if you don't win. So essentially, I would say essentially even with a finals run, do they get in? I think a finals run would be enough, but the committee hasn't done anything. I'm trying to think of a team in the last 3 years.
I think the biggest thing is how many leagues end up having bid stealers. Like Delaware, I think, just beat Towson we speak. So
302, baby.
So that could lead to an issue. I don't think Towson was getting an at-large bid. Don't get me wrong, but weird stuff's happening in conference tournaments. So depending on how many bid stealers there are, Xavier may or may not get host here.
Yeah, it's going to be how much they I don't want to say cater to, but the SEC is going to get 800 teams in this year, and Oklahoma's right there with them. And this Oklahoma versus Xavier debate is one you could have all day. Oklahoma has so many quad 1 wins, but I think they have a losing conference record. But their conference is better than the Big East. It's whole back and forth. And Trevor, you're absolutely right with the bid stealers. So it's going to be interesting. I think a finals run, definitely gets Xavier in. I think if they beat Marquette, they should be on the right side of the bubble.
And Oklahoma's interesting because they were 13-0 preseason, not preseason, in non-con, and then conference happened and they went 6-12.
Yeah.
So it's really, really weird, but it's also a good conference. But there's also just a lot of fat around it. The bubble is it's going to be an SEC bubble. Honestly, just make it an SEC invitational, and we'll deal with the rest from there. Because that's just the way this is going now.
Yeah, they have 6 quad 1 wins. Xavier has 1 quad 1 win.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Which I think you're going to get the SEC bias. I just think that's what's going to happen, frankly. I will say, if SEC bias keeps out my new favorite team, UC San Diego, I'm going to lose my mind because I went to a UC San Diego game last week, and I love that team. They are so good and so fun. All right. Well, yeah, they're really good. All right. So let's chat a little bit about some of the All Big East teams. So I'll run through. I'm going to start from the bottom up. So All Big East third team, Jamil Telfort from Butler, Liam McNeely from UConn, Thomas Sorber from Georgetown, David Joplin from Marquette, Wooga Poplar from Villanova, and Ryan Conwell from Xavier. Thoughts on the third team, Tommy?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all, to be honest with you. I'm a little home cooking here. I think Wooga could have been bumped up to number 2. You look at his stats against Alex Caraban's stats, and number 2, I do think that him getting second team was like a legacy award. But I don't have too much of an issue with all this. Ryan Conwell has been playing well recently, but he hasn't done so over the course of the year. I was a little surprised about who wasn't on it. I think Stevie Mitchell could have been thrown on here for the third team from Marquette. That is a guy that that I've liked watching this year. Liam McNeely, he's been outstanding as a freshman. He's on the third team. I think he might have been bumped up, but all in all, no, I don't have too many objections with the third team.
Yeah, McNeely was the only one that I was like, really? Are we? And so anytime freshmen get thrown on it, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
But McNeely missed half the Big East. It felt like, or the first month at least.
I'm trying to figure out how many games he played.
So I would have liked to see someone else in that spot, especially just put him on the all-freshman team and don't worry about it. But whatever.
Sorber missed a couple too.
Yeah.
And he's done for the year. So
yeah.
All right. Second team, Solo Ball, Alex Caraban, Stephen Ashworth, Kadari Richmond, and Zach Fremantle.
I love Solo Ball. He's the most electric player in the Big East. If he could play a lick of defense, he'd be a star. The thing is, he can't. He's the most one-way player maybe in the country, but that one way he plays is good. Yeah. I love Solo Ball. I was happy to see him make the second team. Like I said, Caraban Lifetime Achievement Award, making the second team. My only gripe here would be I'm not too mad at it, but Stephen Ashworth has been outstanding for Creighton. If he's not on this Creighton team, I don't know what they would do in the backcourt. I wouldn't have minded. I don't know if he was on the first team, but
so there's two things for me. It's Ashworth and Ball that I both think they could have been first team. And we'll talk about the first team. Honestly, just get into that right now. So the first team had 4 unanimous first team members, which was Ryan Kalkbrenner, Cam Jones, RJ Luis, and Eric Dixon. All make sense. Where it gets interesting to me is the first, the other two, so the non-unanimous, were Zuby Ejiofor and Micah Peavy. I was shocked that Peavy made first team. Deserved. He's been very, very good. In my head, it was going to be Ashworth as probably first team and then Peavy on second, or you could have told me Ball on first team and with Peavy on second. Ejiofor, I'm also a little bit surprised, but less surprised than Peavy, to be frank.
Yeah, I feel like that last spot that Ejiofor got, it was either Ejiofor or Peavy that got the last spot, obviously. I think that was just kind of a blank space for whoever St. John's second best player was, just for how good they were this year and how balanced they were. Micah Peavy absolutely deserved. I'm shocked he got it. I really like you said. I really thought that they were going to give that to Stephen Ashworth. When we talk about these awards, it's always for the production that these guys have on the offensive end of the floor, especially.
Yep.
Micah Peavy, he has the numbers on the offensive end of the floor, and then he'll go lock up your best player on the defensive end of the floor. It doesn't matter who, 1 through 5. Like when they play, if they play Creighton, he'll be on Stephen Ashworth one possession and then call on another one. He's insane. He might win. He didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. We'll get to that in a minute, but he could have. I'm really happy for that Micah Peavy made it. I just really did not think he was going to.
And for people who might not remember who Micah Peavy is, in the first Georgetown game, and kind of in the second one, but in the first one, he was essentially the reason they came back that entire game between playing great defense, scoring down the stretch, everything. Peavy was jawing. I really, really like Micah Peavy. He deserved to be first team. I was shocked they gave it to him.
Yeah, we're in lockstep there.
Yeah. All right. So what we want to do here is we're going to transition to some of the awards, the physical awards or whatever they call it, individual awards. But first, I want to get in a quick little ad break here, and we're going to talk about Homefield again. Homefield has a new drop of clothes, new drop of all the best. So Villanova has a bunch of new items out there. Use promo code Nova Insider. That's once again promo code Nova Insider for 15% off. They have hoodie, new T-shirts, whatever it may be. It's also Big East tournament time. So anybody, I know there's probably some other Big East fans here. Use it for your own team. Do whatever you got to do. Use that password. I just actually got a Tennessee women's shooting shirt that says Lady Vols, and
Sick.
I am so excited about it. So even just add it to the drip. If you're trying to get anything else, you're like, I just want something else, trying to stunt, look good for the summer. Use that promo code. If anybody's a real sicko, they'll be like, holy shit, you're wearing a University of Tennessee Lady Vol t-shirt. That's so sick.
Is that what you're hoping happens?
Oh, that's what I'm hoping. Like the first person to comment on that shirt to me, I'm gonna be like, you understand ball, we're friends. I use shirts to make friends. So promo code Nova Insider for all your stuff, and please go to homefield.com and check out all the new drops that we're having.
Homefield's great stuff.
Love all their stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to get into some of the individual awards. Not obviously. The Big East Player of the Year has not been announced yet. The Big East Coach of the Year has not been announced yet. We know that's going to Kyle Neptune, so don't have to worry about that.
You would imagine it's a St. John sweep on this one, right?
I don't know about sweep for Player of the Year. We can just do that now, honestly, like Player of the Year. So we've had this conversation in the group chat. I was like, I don't think there's a front runner, but Tommy had said, and it feels like Kalkbrenner's the front runner, but like
at the time,
but that time was like last Wednesday.
It's true. That's true. You got me there. There's been a big media push for RJ Lewis in the last couple of days. I still think it's Ryan Kalkbrenner. I think he's the most impactful player in the conference. I really thought he was the front runner at the time, but I mean, this is a lot of the same media was saying Kadari Richmond was going to win Big East Player of the Year, and he didn't even get first team. So we don't know what's going to happen until it happens. We all thought it was going to be Tristan Newton last year until it was announced that it was Devin Carter. So I'm making the push for Ryan Kalk. Well, actually, no, screw that. I'm making the push for Eric Dixon.
So that's the one thing I was going to say is like, there's a non-zero chance it's Eric. Like, he's unanimous first team, so there's a chance.
I get it, but I feel like their nod to him was a unanimous selection, and you can't give the Player of the Year award to the guy on the sixth best team.
They did last year. Devin Carter.
God, stop it with the facts. They were in sixth. They were better than that because we were sixth.
Yeah, so
they had to be better, right?
Hope so.
Yeah. If we were seventh, yeah, we could have gotten it for Eric, but sixth just doesn't work.
And this conversation started in the group chat because I was like, is there a way that Eric second places his way into
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
So everybody votes him second, but then you have a split in first between Kalkbrenner and Lewis. And realistically, it's between the three of them. Realistically, like I don't think anyone else is gonna. Realistically, that's what it is. So like, is there a chance for that? I mean, like Cam Jones, I guess could, but like he feels fourth this season to those three. So that's where I'm thinking for Eric to somehow get it. That's where I'm of the opinion. I have no clue it's going to be. If there really is this media push for Lewis, I'm imagining that. Tommy's Big J, so he would know. But yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's either going to be Kalk or RJ, but there is a non-zero chance that I mean, he's leading the country in scoring. Every coach has to game plan. I mean,
I know,
praise from
but
the coaches have been effusive for Eric after every game too.
When has anybody cared at like when some mid-major, like if I'm using a mid-major as an example of a non-tournament team that has a guy that's leading the country in scoring. At least usually in that case, he's also leading his team to the NCAA tournament. So my only thing is like the team severely underperformed. I know he scored a bunch. I love Eric, but the team did not do anything special this year.
I just think we could be in a situation where no, everyone would say exactly that, but then everyone votes him second.
Yeah,
and he gets
no. I see that, but I as people are releasing their like All-American teams, I keep seeing replies saying like Dixon second team or Dixon third team is horrible. Led the nation in scoring. It's like, yeah, led the nation in scoring for a team that's not even going to go to the NIT. Part of that is because we're contractually obligated to go to the Crown, but didn't have his team in position to make the tournament, barring a fantasy run. But we've already done the voting. And I just, yeah, it's great. He scored a bunch of points. His defense went down. His rebounding went down. And I understand that that's what happens when you're an entire offense. But again, like in the past, when other players have blown up in scoring, and haven't had team success to back that up, you think of like Trae Young, I don't know if he led the nation in scoring, but he definitely did in assists his year. This is a national player of the year thing, not a conference player of the year thing that I'm talking about. But situations where teams underperform, like I don't think Oklahoma made the tournament that year, or if they did, they were basically put in because they had Trae Young on the team by the committee, and then they lost in the first round. So
I lost to Hurley's URI team.
Yeah, I think there has to be some sort of team success built into this. The example in the NBA is like, okay, the best player, like Jokic on the Nuggets right now, is putting up crazy numbers. His team's fifth in the West or so, whatever they are, and he's not going to win MVP despite putting up the best numbers of his career because SGA is the best player on the best team. I don't know. You're laughing at me, Willie.
I'm sorry. I just got a news dump from one of my buddies texting me who knows I'm on here. Lance Ware, all defensive team and second team all whack.
Justice for Lance Ware.
Hey. Wow. Shout out Lance
Ware.
That
is whack.
Shout out Lance Ware, man.
I got that text and I said, oh.
You probably could have put up some numbers in that conference, Willie.
I think so. Oh, my goodness. And they're actually upset. They're saying you should have been first team. All right, sorry. That was just – I got that text. I saw Lance Ware pop up on my watch. I said, oh, I got him.
Got him. Got to see what this is. But anyway, I see your point that he could backdoor his way in here. It'll be interesting to see how the voting works out. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but I think you need a little bit more than just being the leading scorer. That's all.
All right. What I want to hit is some of the awards. So Big East Defensive Player of the Year was given to Ryan Kalkbrenner. Most Improved to Zuby Ejiofor. Big East Sixth Man of the Year, Terrace Reed. And then Big East Sportsmanship Award, Jerome Hunter. One thing that pops out to me is I'm a little surprised Terrace Reed won Sixth Man of the Year, but wasn't like a negative thing. I just didn't think it would end up going to him. But Tommy, anything stick out to you?
I don't like the Sixth Man of the Year award. Like Terrace Reed was better than Samson Johnson, and Hurley just didn't start him. So like, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. Like, congrats, you're the best of the rest. Who would you have had as a sixth man?
That's the thing. I'm like, I don't even really have a good second option, which is where I was like, I guess it can go to him. But it was just like, kind of to your point, I was like, he didn't feel like a sixth man to me. It's weird. I think I also just naturally have a thing about like big men winning Sixth Man of the Year where I'm like, well, that's weird. But yeah, there's no one else to really give it to, if I'm being honest. Like
what I'm thinking of, right? Like there's nothing.
There's nowhere else there. So yeah.
Sportsmanship, I have no thoughts. Shout out Jerome Hunter. It's a cool story. Defensive Player of the Year. These awards, I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner, they etched his name into the Defensive Player of the Year trophy before the season started. All he had to do was show up.
Is this his third?
It's his
fourth.
Fourth? Good.
In a row.
It's his third meaningless one, in my opinion.
Get a job.
No, it's just like...
Get a job.
Like, okay, you're the tallest. Okay, we get it. You're tall. Like, you know, I don't know. He bothers me that he basically won by default the last 2 years, at least, I'll say.
Yeah. I think he was the third or fourth best defender in the conference this year.
That's been my biggest thing with it is I think when you're Defensive Player of the Year, you should strike fear in the hearts of the opponents. And I think people have a respect for him because he's obviously talented. But I just every single time I think there are way better defenders in the conference. I think PV's been a better defender.
I think part of it is because we feel like we have a really good matchup for him. So that's definitely a part of it. But yeah, that's probably maybe it's more of a part of it than I'm even giving myself credit for. But
yeah, no, I get that. I think PV was a better defender. I think Stevie Mitchell was a better defender. If you look up Thomas Sorber's defensive metrics on any of the analytics websites, he was an outstanding rim protector. I don't know. This isn't to take anything away from Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's an outstanding.
I want to take away from
this. Is 4. We can take it's. If this was the second one, I'd be like,
he's breaking records that all-time defensive maniacs had, and that just doesn't sit right with me.
It's fair.
Patrick Ewing and Ryan Kalkbrenner are he's now passed him in everything, or he's
it's
tied him in
polar opposite ends of the spectrum in
Yeah.
terms of intimidation and force and presence, and it just feels weird that he will have these records.
Wait,
cool
okay, this is actually impressive. I do got to give him credit. He's never fouled out of a game. That's actually impressive. I'm reading the blurb right now, and he's never fouled out of a game. That's actually impressive. I'll give him credit for that one.
Yeah, but that way now we can talk about how awful the refs are on officiating him.
I think we had him at 4 in the second game, and he
and the only other award was most improved, which was Zuby Ejiofor. And if Vegas put odds on it, it would be minus 10 million for him to win that award. There's no one even really close.
No one else improved that big. And then also he actually made a very big leap this year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Least improved was Mason Miller. Have you guys seen his splits?
Oh, I've seen Mason Miller's splits. He's been he's my
another way of saying that is that he is the picture of consistency.
You know what? That's a good way of looking at it. It was Mason Miller's splits were so bad that when I was doing research for I think our second game, I was like, "Oh, is he injured? Is that why everything's negative? He's been hurt?" Nope, he's been playing.
Right, and of course he makes a play at the end of the game against us too.
Yep.
Go figure it.
And after having he has to be really hurt. After the season he had last year, he was legitimately good. Just for anyone to know, I'm just going to give you a simple one. Last year from 3, he shot 46%. This year, he's shooting 15%. Something has to be going on.
There's some volume there. That's not on
no.
That's insane.
Literally.
He's it's less volume this year, which is why I think he has to be hurt. He took 108 threes in 2024. And even the year before that, he took 54. He's only taken 40 this year, and he's only made 6. I don't know what's happened, but he hasn't improved. He's actively regressed hard. I'm hoping it's he actually had a torn labrum in his shoulder, and he couldn't shoot, and he gets surgery, and it's okay, this makes sense. Go back because but he's still playing, so it doesn't make sense because he's not helping the team at all. Besides to help beat us.
I hope in that case they'd give him a damn red shirt waiver. Take it. That was embarrassing. Should we give predictions on the other 3, freshman coach and coach is Rick across the board, right?
Coach should be Rick, yeah. Freshman, I guess it's between McNeely and Sorber, right?
Gotta be, yeah.
Realistically, that's going to be it. I think it'll go to Sorber for playing more of the Big East season, is what I'll say. And like being,
I hope it goes to Sorber just to watch UConn fans complain again.
Yeah. Everyone's against them.
Yeah. Now remember when Cam won over
Caravan?
Yeah, just perfect.
Wow, that was over Caravan.
Yeah.
Wow. Good grief. Yeah. We already talked on player of the year.
Draft pick Alex Caravan.
Hey, I'm still holding out hope. I'm still holding out hope.
Gonna get that chip sent your way. I don't know though. Bilotti keeps moving the goalposts. I don't know the rules anymore.
For people who are not aware and aren't in our group chat, if Caravan is a first-round pick, Tommy has to eat the what's it called, the one chip or the hot chip?
Yeah,
I think it's called the one chip challenge.
The one chip to rule it all.
Yeah.
The really hot chip, and we're gonna do it on the pod. And if Caravan is not, Willie loses and has to eat the chip. So,
but where we don't know, what we didn't define, is if Caravan goes back to school.
Yeah,
and then goes out.
So he might get another year of anticipation here.
Trevor, make the call right now in front of everybody.
I think the spirit of the wager was this year.
I'd agree with that. It's fine. I'll take
it. but it might be really funny to watch you sweat this out for another year, just to have to do it next year. So I don't know. I feel like the spirit of the wager was after this season, but you are pretty far behind the 8 ball right now.
If I'm good at anything, I'll dig my heels in and stick with it.
Yeah. So I don't know. We can have that. We can continue to have that debate.
A couple of things I wanted to hit. So we definitely there's a thing that was shared by, I want to make sure I get the name right, CJ Dexter on Twitter. It was Kyle Neptune has to go. This is insane. I want to go through it. It is essentially all our winning predictions. All our winning predictions are win probability percentage during all these games.
Here's the thing about this. I don't know if these numbers are accurate. I have no way of figuring it out for myself. I don't care.
You can.
Yeah. It's despicable.
Yeah. You can also see it, like Bar Torvik has exactly that on when you go through. You can go through and watch the score, look at the scores, and see the winning percentage at each point, or the likelihood that we're going to win. So let me go back. Let me pull this up one last time. So it goes through. We led Columbia 28-20. That was a 95.5% winning percentage. Then we led St. Joe's 29-21. That was an 81% win percentage. We led Maryland 38-24 and had an 88% win probability. Then we led Xavier with 54-48 with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. There's an 81% winning probability. We led Georgetown, this is the game that made me crash out, 63-55 with 3:33 left, 97% win probability. We led Creighton 60-59 with 8 seconds left, 82% win probability. We led UConn 53-39, some point in the second half, 94% win probability. We led Georgetown 69-60 with 3 minutes and 30 seconds, 95.5% win probability. The odds of us losing every single game was 0.00000000299. So,
and we lost all of them.
Not great.
That's impossibly bad.
And I look through this, and you're like, oh, you like the ones for me that are inexcusable are both Georgetown games, and I'm even going to be nice. Just both Georgetown games and Columbia are the inexcusable ones for me. Columbia because you were up 8, and yes, it was the first half, but you're facing an Ivy League team that you were clearly better than. We had put that. I think we even were up 10 at a point, but that point was right after a run. We had made a run to put some distance between us, and I was like, okay, cool. Columbia was being feisty. We just went on the run that we need to. We're gonna coast and be fine. Nope. What wasn't happening at all. St. Joe's, I honestly, whatever, I gave us a pass on. Not a pass, but I'm not going to hold us to the fire for that one. And then the 2 Georgetown ones. The fact we lost to Georgetown the same way twice this is going to piss me off forever. It was the same exact, Your Honor. It's the same picture. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah, and the thing is, you said you lost your shit during the Georgetown game.
The first game.
I lost mine last year when Brendan Hawson and Eric Dixon were playing patty cake in the backcourt. And
someone sent that video out the other day, and I forget what the meme was for, but it was just it was like, oh god, it's gonna bother me that I can't remember it. But yeah, just they didn't even get a shot off.
They didn't get a shot off. It was they had a timeout. They had a timeout. It's impossibly bad. Like, this isn't just a this year thing. It's a dating back to last year and the year before, and hopefully not next year. But it's hard to lose all of those games. It truly is hard.
It's honestly impressive. Like,
it's very impressive. This post blew up. Like, I think Barstool had a piece on it. DraftKings, all sorts of big content powerhouses were like pushing this, and that was kind of like, yes, keep sharing it, keep retweeting it. Maybe it'll come across Father Peter's desk. So thank you to whoever that was. I think it was that a UConn fan that posted it originally?
Let me see. Let me go look at the profile.
CJ Dexter.
Yeah, UConn. Yep.
Yeah, that's what. And going back to even, I want to say it was after the Columbia game where we had like an emergency spaces, and there were UConn fans in there just being like, "Can you guys please get your house in order? Because it's just better for everybody if you guys are good." So I do appreciate, as much as we love to hate UConn fans, they are putting in the work behind the scenes to help our narrative here and support us in our quest for a new coach and some accountability within our program.
So, Bartorvik has like a tourney cast thing, and I've been on this before with you all, but you can go through and like adjust the games and be like, oh, what does the tourney look like this? I just went through, and if we just fixed Columbia and the 2 Georgetown games, if we just won those games, it has us the very first, like the top of the last 4 in.
Yeah,
that's the margin for the tournament. It's like this season, like last season, we never got the win.
We said it in November and December, like after the St. Joe's game, probably we're like, yeah, this stinks, and this is probably at the end of the day when we're looking back in March of why we just missed out, or if there's a weak bubble or something, why we just missed out. And it's literally like, you couldn't show up for, a game against Columbia. You couldn't show up against St. Joe's. You crapped your pants against Maryland at the end. Like, you flip even half of these results, and we're like a dangerous 11 seed that nobody wants to play.
Yep.
We're even a trendy upset pick in the Big East tournament. Talking to a lot of those people, but I remember texting my brother-in-law after the Columbia game, and just being like, "Well, I'm glad I don't have to get my hopes up for this season. Like, these guys showed me who they are pretty early in the year, and I don't know. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again to the point where it's impressive. I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. And it's not all coaching, and it's not all the players.
No.
It's a perfect storm of both.
Hellish mix that we've just been living with for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky us. I forgot that UConn fans were coming in saying, "Can you get your house in order?" We're trying.
Like the space that we had. I remember like half the people that came up and spoke were like, "Hey, UConn fan here. When are you gonna fire your coach?" And it was like, "Yeah, we don't do that way here, unfortunately." But so
we're here now.
There will be plenty of time to talk about just that topic coming up in like 15 minutes or so with Chris over on Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, as he said when he's going live, I'm not looking at Twitter.
It is, as we speak right now, it's 10 p.m. Eastern time. He was hoping to go pretty much right after our show wraps. So
okay. Well, then, to give Chris the floor, it should be coming from the Full 40 Twitter. He's going to do a Spaces. I think some of us might be on it. I might be for a little bit, but I have plans. And yeah, we're gonna give Chris the floor so we can do this. So hop over to Spaces on Twitter.com. I guess it's called X, but we're just gonna call it Twitter.com. Your mama called you Twitter. I'm gonna call you Twitter. And hey, we're gonna. And yeah, from there we'll see you guys next week. We will likely be talking about
hopefully a coaching search.
Maybe a coaching search next week. Like, who knows? And we'll probably talk a little bit about the tournament, and we'll start rolling from there. And I'm sure you'll hear a lot from Chris today, and just from us for the next couple of weeks. This is go time. We're in weird time, so we'll be around. We're probably still just gonna do one podcast a week, but Chris will be spacing as much as his heart desires. Which, go off, King. All right. Anything else from y'all?
No, thank you guys for having me back on.
Thanks for Tommy for jumping on and talking through the Big East with us. Always good to have the king of the Big East bar room.
Yep.
So
I like that.
Right. And as always, let's go Nova.